Testimony and the focus notes that they made during Darlie Routier's stay at Baylor Hospital. Supporters a long time claimed that the focus note and the testimony that they gave were completely different, and they should be. They keep saying, oh no, they were coached by Greg Davis. Let me show you something real quick though, before I go into this. Let me show you something. Now, what I want to do is show some supporter mentality with Bathsheba here, and I'm not picking at her, I'm just showing the mentality that they have. Sometimes they don't think about what they post before they post it. This is on episode 72 on Rich Prater's panel, which had me and Pamela Lakes Collins on it. I'm glad to say that will be the last Rich Prater Darlie is Innocent panel, because since then he has taken a different stance. So I take pride in being with Pamela Collins on his very last episode. That's how badly we did Candace Lynch. But speaking on Bathsheba here, and then I'm gonna go back to the focus notes. Bathsheba, who is very nice, but she gets things wrong. It's okay. She's not one of those Darlie supporters. It says Darlie was her own worst enemy when she took the stand, because it's very clear to me that she was never coached or rehearsed, which I find unconscionable in a death penalty case. I have never heard of a defendant in a murder case or a plaintiff in a civil case about to take the stand who hasn't been prepped or rehearsed. Orders on legal malpractice. Okay, the rehearsal that Darlie got was, I want to get on the stand. Her rehearsal was, no, don't do that. That was her rehearsal. She chose to do it anyway because she thought she could get up there and talk her way out of the stuff. But Bathsheba says that Darlie should have been coached and should have had a chance to rehearse before she got on that stand. And since they didn't do that, it was legal malpractice. This is one of the same supporters that bitched and complained and moaned because Greg Davis met with the nurses in the hotel in Kerrville and gave them an idea of what it was going to be like to be on the stand. In fact, he prepped. There was no rehearsal, but he prepped them. He let them know this is what it's going to be like on the stand. So I guess that Greg Davis was not bordering on legal malpractice because he rehearsed and coached. Doug Mulder did not, right? No. In fact, Doug Mulder did not want her on the stand. They kept telling her not to get on the stand, and she wouldn't listen to them. The jury came out, and they put that picture up of Devin and Damon facing her. They got no emotion. I think they took a short little break while Darlie was on the stand. While the jury was out, Doug Mulder chewed her fucking ass. When they came back in, she was crying on the stand, and juror Rena Way reached over and handed Darlie. It came straight from one of the jurors, Bathsheba. So if you think that Doug Mulder on the fence with some malpractice because he didn't coach his witnesses, then why is it okay for, why would you jump all over Greg Davis for doing the same thing? Just think before you post. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. So supporters have always said, that Greg Davis coached the nurses and that the focus notes were wrong and that they said something totally different on the stand. They did not. In fact, we've been saying for years that focus notes are based on data and not opinion. They're not allowed to give their opinion in a focus note. But when they're sitting on a courtroom stand and someone asks them their opinion, they're allowed to give it then. And the focus notes should be different from the nurse's spoken opinion. That's a fact. So let's go through this. And I backed it up with a little bit of facts here. A nursing focus note is not an opinion because it is built on objective data and factual documentation. The primary purpose is to record a patient's story using observable behaviors and clinical facts, not personal feelings or interpretations. The focus in focus charting, which uses data, action, response, DAR format. Darlie can center on a patient concern, a sign, a symptom, or a significant event. The subsequent documentation must be factual and supported by evidence. Breakdown of the DAR format. The DAR format ensures objectivity by structuring the note into 3 distinct evidence-based sections. Data. This section includes both subjective and objective information. What makes it factual is that the subjective data is framed as a direct quote from the patient, clearly distinguishing it from the nurse's interpretation. Objective data. Measurable and observable facts such as vital signs, lab results, and physical assessment findings. Subjective data. The patient's exact words about their feelings or perceptions are documented using quotation marks. A. Action. This section details the nursing intervention is performed. Is a record of specific planned and implemented action. Medication, changing and dressing, or providing patient education. R. Response. This section documents the patient's reaction to the interventions performed in the action phase. It is an evaluation of whether the planned outcomes were met, noting changes in the patient's condition or improvements or worsening of symptoms. How focus charting avoids opinion. Focus notes are designed with built-in mechanisms to prevent the inclusion of personal bias or judgment. Factual language. Nurses are trained to use specific factual language. Instead of writing, "The patient was uncooperative," a nurse would document, "Patient refused to take medication," stating, "I don't want them." Documentation as a legal record. A patient's chart is a legal document that can be used in court. This serves as a strong deterrent against writing opinion. It would also expose the nurse to liability and compromise in the integrity of the medical record. Clinical decision making. The information in a focus note is used by the entire healthcare team to make clinical decisions. By prioritizing objective data, the note ensures that all providers are working with an accurate patient's condition. So this here, when we study and look at what focus notes are, you can clearly tell that the focus notes were identical to what was being said on the stand. On the stand, they were able to go into it a little bit more, give a little more detail. So I just wanted to put that to rest. This should be in the facts part of our group. So the nurses did not lie. And the supporters would say, "Oh, they lied, Greg Davis. Oh, they risked their jobs and everything else." They did not lie. They said exactly what was in their focus note. Justice for Devin and Darlie Routier.